role he stepped into.
God. All right, guys, it's a special edition of Strictly Ball Business today with Alec and Dalton. We are talking about the trade deadline, which was today. It's February 10th, and we've been waiting for this day for a while. And boy, did we get some good trades. Not even just today, but the last couple of days, some big names got moved. Now, I think first, it'd be unfair other than to talk about the biggest trade of the deadline, which is James Harden going to the Philadelphia Sixers, reuniting with Daryl Morey. He's getting traded. James Harden's getting traded for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, 2 first-round picks, 1 unprotected. That's this year. The other is protected for 2027, and Andre Drummond as well. And Paul Millsap is going back to the Sixers as well. So for whatever that's worth. So I guess first off on that, man, we've been waiting for Simmons to get traded for quite a while. Like that was obviously a big thing this offseason that led into the season. Everybody knows about that. We could beat it to death. But the James Harden stuff didn't really come up to the last month or so. And it really got serious the last couple of weeks. And they had to act fast because he was going to be a free agent this year. And clearly he made it obvious to them that he was going to sign with Philadelphia after this season. So, Nets figure they didn't have a choice. They were strong held into this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of that perfect example. We did a video a long time ago about how I know that a lot of people disagree with it, but I just think players have so much power now. Like James Harden he obviously players can go where they want, but he's just kind of was like, no, I'll go to 76ers. Like all that planning the Nets did. Granted, in this specific case, I think it works out for both sides better. However, he just kind of was like, yeah, I'll go. And then, of course, Daryl Morey was like, yeah,
I don't think it's necessarily that simple, though, either. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, yeah, I'll go. I'm guessing this had been in the works for a while, and maybe it was on the back of Harden's mind ever since Kyrie decided he wasn't going to get vaccinated, because he clearly has a problem with that. I mean, that's a huge reason for why this is happening, because if they're playing all 3 of them, or even 2 out of the 3 of them most nights, and they didn't go on a 7-game losing streak just now, it's probably a different story.
Yeah, I mean, that has a lot to do with it too. And we talked about that when we did the video about us reacting to the first news of the 76ers thinking about picking up Harden. Yeah, I think Kyrie definitely played a huge role in it. But I'm just saying, regardless of what his reasons are, he eventually was just like, yeah, I want to go to the 76ers. And they're like, all right. Granted,
but he's a free agent after this year. That's why he had so much power.
But could the 76ers even sign him aside from a sign and trade? They don't have the
unrestricted
cap.
Free agent after this
but they
year.
Don't have the – I'm saying
they already had someone that was willing to take Tobias at the end of this season. So the idea was you free up the space there, you just sign him, and then, you're going to be able to trade Simmons for anything after that even.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably the best case scenario because they get to keep Tobias too. I think all of that aside, I do think this is a better fit for both teams, a lot better. I mean, Harden's near perfect fit next to James Harden. You get literally everything except for defense, which they're already a great defensive team right now. So
honestly, for them being strong held into this one, the Nets being strong held into it, it makes sense. The trade makes sense in a lot of ways. So I just want to put that in there.
And Harden's never really played with a dominant big like this before, so it's hard to say.
No, he played really with Dwight Howard. I mean, I would say that
Rockets Dwight Howard
is a lot different in terms of style of play, but Howard was still in his prime, maybe late prime at that point, but he was still in his prime. And when he signed there, it was you were, it was big expectations. So
true, but also Harden, I wouldn't say Harden was as good as he was now, even then. This is prime Harden is that time. He was still, that was first or second year he was displaced by from OKC.
He was immediately great in Houston. If you remember correctly, he was an all-star year 1.
Yeah, but then he became a superstar a few years. You could argue it was like that the whole time, but I'm just saying this is a lot better situation than even that
Yeah,
Rockets.
no, it's a great situation. Embiid is,
Certainly
a
more
superstar
versatile.
player, but they're both injury prone, him and Harden. Now Harden was an iron man for a long time, but he's not anymore. So I don't want to hear it.
I think it was he just took all that time off
He
because
put that
with the
weight
Nets because he could
on.
afford to do it. Like
He did the
he
same thing with
played.
Houston. He was injured there too. So is he get excuses wherever he goes? Is he just gonna get rest days here? He turns 33 next year. You're gonna give him a $247 million super max at the end of this year. He just opted into his $47 million year for next year just so he could get that super max. So he's definitely going to get extended for that. And so you're going to be paying James Harden from his age 33 to 38 years, $247 million.
Yeah, I mean it's worth it. Like just like people were talking about Drew Holiday's contract, they're talking about Chris Middleton's, and they won a championship, and now everyone's like, yeah, well, it's worth it. It was worth it in the end. They did
Yeah,
what
it
they
was
could.
a worst East back then, though.
Yeah, now
Even
it's
just last year. So the Sixers, I'd definitely say have a good chance, but they are far away from a championship team
really
still. They
the
definitely have the
Sixers.
talent. They obviously have the talent, but they've yet to prove that they can do it in the playoffs. When has Harden ever been a good playoff player? He needs to
Yeah,
prove that he can win in the playoffs, and so does Embiid. And you could say, oh, Simmons was a big reason for why they didn't get further, but I could also say Embiid and the other players on the team as well. It's not a super deep team. They just traded away Seth Curry, who was awesome for them this year. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey has been a huge plus this year, but he's also had a lot more opportunity than he did, before. So I don't know. I think the Sixers are interesting, but they're going to have to show me some more. I think on paper, tons of talent, but there's also some question marks on if their play styles between James Harden and Joel Embiid's going to work, because James Harden, as much as he wants and keeps saying that he wants to have another guy to share the burden with of scoring and all that, he still needs to have the ball in his hands all the time to be effective. And
yeah.
is it going to be Harden ball?
I mean, the main reason why he didn't like what he was doing with the Nets is because Kyrie was gone, so he had to run the offense. He doesn't like running the offense. That's why he liked having Chris Paul, liked having Russ Westbrook, and now you could say he doesn't have to because they have Tyrese Maxey, and Tyrese has done a great job of the role he stepped into.
God, they have Tyrese Mack. James Harden has Tyrese Mack.
No, I'm just saying it's a lot better than not having Kyrie, so I can see why with the appeal. But yeah, you're right.
You're right. It's a big difference because like the Nets had like no depth after those guys because they had gutted the team just to get Harden.
Yeah, but it's a better stage regarding the playoffs than he was with the Rockets with Chris Paul and then with Russell Westbrook, where he was the main scoring option in both those times. And here you got to think he is because he's the lead guard. But I think it's almost more of him on an island rather than when he had those two guards next to him, because now it's just him. I mean, there's Embiid, but it's a whole different dynamic when you have a star guard next to you and a star big next to you. Like you both have two totally separate roles. So now he arguably has a bigger stage now, and I don't know if he's going to perform. I mean, last with the Nets, he could have leaned on Kyrie, he could have leaned on KD because they're so close. Like KD's not a big. He's tall enough. People can argue it. He's not a big. He himself is big, but he's not. He can't lean on those guys, and I don't know if you want James Harden to lean on Tyrese Maxey, in the playoffs. That's just not the right formula. So yeah, we certainly have to see. Right now, I still like them. I like them better than the Nets because of the Nets still have Kyrie and the turmoil of that whole deal. Plus, Simmons is going to come back and he hasn't played in a year. So I still have the Bucks first, especially after the last acquisition. And I think I have the Heat, but the Sixers third as my favorites to make it out. But the Sixers could definitely get above the Heat. But the Heat are still highly regarded. I don't think the Nets are in the top three of who could make it out this season. Make it out of the East.
Yeah, I think You're just a little too high on the Heat. I mean, the Heat have been good lately, so it's like recency bias. So I get that. But I don't think the Heat are going to do much in the playoffs. I think the Nets are definitely going to find their stride once guys get things going a bit. But the Kyrie problem is a legitimate one. You know, he's amazing when he's on the court, but it sounds like he's legitimately going to miss like the home games during a playoff series, which that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge problem, but I mean would you put the 76ers above the Heat? I get like you think it's recency bias. I really don't think that. Their defense is so scary and PJ
And
is
once we get
great.
to the playoffs, I think for sure I put the Sixers ahead of the Heat.
Really?
I think the Heat have a good squad, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, Jimmy Butler choked in the playoffs last year. They
Didn't
don't
choke the year
have that
before.
alpha scorer.
Really?
Um,
I mean,
like
you're right. They don't have that alpha score, but I think they have enough where in between. I mean, Butler showed that he can be that alpha scorer. Granted, he's limited, but they have nothing but shooters
he
around
could be a
them.
beta scorer. He's not an
I
alpha scorer.
I don't think you're taking in the impact Kyle Lowry will have on this team. I think he
Yeah, Kyle
has
Lowry's
and
great. Yeah.
he's going to push him in the playoffs so much. And I'm not saying the 76ers won't be my second favorites to make it out of the East by the end of the season. I'm saying as of right now, everything the Heat have done, you can like if they were to face the 76ers right now, yeah, they're going to beat them. And that's what I'm
No, I
saying.
take the
Like
Bulls over the Heat.
Bulls over the Heat. Bulls are certainly really good. I still think they have a lot to figure out, especially on ends of their defense. They started off hot. They've looked really great, but Vucevic is still having struggles. Caruso out, Ball's out right now. Injury. It's just hard to say right now, you know. But most consistent team has been the Heat, and it's for a reason. But
Yeah.
on the Nets side, I really think I think they won. I don't want to say they won this trade because whoever wins the championship first will win the trade. However, it helps so many of their holes. I mean, say
I
what
mean,
you
if
will
they
about
both win
Drummond,
a championship, both of these teams, they're
they
it's gonna
could.
be like
Yeah,
whatever. You know?
they most certainly could. But they fix a lot of their defense with Simmons. Like, what do you think Simmons is gonna? He's gonna play the four.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be like a point forward because, like, I mean,
I mean, it'll be very much
it'll
positionless,
be
but
kind of frustrating though because, like, on the nights that Kyrie's not playing, he'll probably do a lot of the ball handling, and
which is really nice for them.
he might not like his inconsistency in the role.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it'll help him a lot. I mean, he only has a 20% usage rating, and James Harden had 28. That's a pretty big difference when you're playing with Kyrie. So he can play off ball a lot more. And I think he wanted to do that. I mean, he liked having the ball, but I think he's going to enjoy playing with guys like KD. I mean, nothing but shooters. Like, so you got to think like the lineup's going to be when they're
Yeah.
all on the
Well,
floor. It's going to be like Kyrie.
regardless, I mean, I would hope Ben Simmons has a good attitude about this because he's gonna go play with Kevin freaking Durant. Like
Yeah.
he was in good there was a good opportunity. He was maybe gonna get sent to the Kings or somewhere else if a good enough offer came around. But
Mhm.
obviously the Sixers were holding out for a star. But I mean, Simmons should be very happy to end up with the Nets.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure he
hopefully he'll
is,
like
but
that.
you got to think about. I'm sure he's gonna give it a go. He's gonna see how well he is, but you got to think about the lineup, like what, because they have a lot of guys now that are pretty decent players. They certainly have depth now. I mean, they got rid of Paul Millsap. That's definitely an addition, going to fill that what was supposed to be that Al Horford role with the 76ers. But the Nets, like, what's going to be their lineup? Drummond's still coming off the bench, right? So it's going to be Kyrie, Seth Curry, and then maybe I mean Kevin and Ben, whatever forwards, power forward doesn't matter. And then is Aldridge their center? Are they gonna
They have
switch?
Aldridge. They've got Drummond if they want to start him.
I think they're gonna want Aldridge
DeAndre
to spread the
Bembry.
floor.
They got Bruce Brown. They want to
Yeah.
go small.
Oh yeah, but so otherwise, speak of what. Say what you will about Drummond's defense. He's not a liability. Certainly perimeter defending, but I think he's been one of the, if not the best backup center in the league. I can't think of anybody better than what he's been doing with the 76ers. He's still been coming out 8 rebounds to a steal, a block a night. And when Embiid sits, they don't win as much, but he's still does really well. I mean, he's a very stat heavy guy, but he still affects the team in a right way. I think Drummond's a huge pickup for them. I think that's awesome that they were able to scoop him up too. Obviously, Seth Curry, you're going to get shooting, you're going to get everything you need in a guy who, when you have all stars like Kyrie, you have Simmons, and you have Durant, like a guy like Seth Curry is just great. Like I don't know what else you could ask for.
They needed Seth Curry because Joe Harris is hurt now, but he's also been garbage lately when he has been healthy. So they needed another shooter, and Seth Curry's been awesome. And Durant knows that he can't win without Curry, so he figured get his brother.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they got the most out of this trade. Like if they were going to take
they were
off
trying
all
to
the
get
day, all
Thibault,
healthy,
but they just couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's a young asset. He's a great defender. It's hard to pick up that, especially when at that point, it's the 76ers. Like, we don't want you to have Thibault. Like, that's that great of defense. Like, we're going to have to face you. So it's like they don't want to give him too much. That's why it's such a weird trip, like crazy scene, like the interchange of rivals.
A couple of rivals, yeah. That is what makes this so interesting because both these teams are, powerhouse teams with and without this trade.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's crazy. I can't wait to see both of it. Certainly shakes up the East. And it's great to see like the East have all these powerhouses now. We just talked about 5 teams that could definitely make it to the finals. And East hasn't been like that in so long.
Yeah, no, the East is up for sure. I mean, the Bulls, first of all, came out of nowhere this year, but the Nets, they've been great since they've gotten the stars, and they've got KD locked into an extension. So, regardless of what they do, they've got Kevin Durant. So they're always going to be great as long as he's there. The Bucks, we saw them win the championship last year. Yeah, even sometimes you can forget about them this year, I feel like, in the discussions. But Giannis is still potentially going to win MVP. That team is looking fantastic. So I don't know. The Bucks made a trade today as part of a 4-team deal. They traded away Dante DiVincenzo. He goes to the Sacramento Kings. Marvin Bagley goes from the Kings to Detroit. He is now a Piston trying to revitalize his career. The Clippers get involved. They send Serge Ibaka to Milwaukee. And was there another player in there? Someone must have gone from Detroit somewhere, right?
Yeah, Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles go to the Kings from the Pistons. Yes. And then the Clippers are getting Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye, and 2 future second-round picks and some cash from the Bucks. Nice. I mean, I actually love this trade. So Bagley on the Pistons, sure, great. I think it's great for him. I mean, he's going to get to play with a really nice playmaker. I mean, Tyrese was great, but he's going to have more space, no pressure to win now. He's going to be next to Cade. They need a
this is his last chance, to prove that he, is worth a top pick to some degree. So,
definitely.
Cade Cunningham, hopefully he can build something.
Yeah. And I really like the pick. I mean, I was thinking about it today. I was like, I hope the Bucks make one trade. I don't want more than that. I was like, just one trade. They need to fill that PJ Tucker role, that guy who can go out there and defend. Is Serge a better defender, perimeter defender than PJ? No. Is he a better inside defender than PJ? I would say so. He's definitely a better shot blocking. Certainly can shoot the 3 better. Offensive, I don't think he's as versatile. I don't think either one's that versatile.
They're not
if I had to
the
pick
same
one,
players, if you're being honest with yourself, but they do. Fill some similar roles. I like Serge there. He's a bit more fragile coming into his later years here, but you love the size, get you some rebounds and blocks. So hopefully that's a guy in the playoffs giving you some solid minutes.
And he's certainly. I've heard you said as an injury. Insurance policy for Brook Lopez going into the playoffs. I mean that too. Yeah, he can be that floor spacing center next to Giannis, and him and Brook Lopez are filling the same roles in their later years now, where they're both just defense and shooting. I think the Bucks are a great fit. I think he's a great vet. I certainly think he can win another championship with the Bucks.
Yeah,
I think they certainly can do it. I think that he's just a great addition. I'm super impressed. I think that puts them back up there. Loss of PJ Tucker and DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo's been injured this whole time, so what loss is it?
Well, I like DiVincenzo going to the Kings at least, though. You know, the Kings that get somebody that has some value in return for Bagley.
Some
So
defense.
I don't hate that. At least he's got good perimeter defense and really hasn't proven to be a good shooter in this league, but he was in college. You know, that was why he got drafted high. So you know, maybe that he can change that. I don't know. It's probably not going to happen with the place where careers go to die, but I always have blind optimism for the Kings because I just want them to be good.
Yeah, and Clippers just dump Ibaka. I don't know what the Clippers are gonna. I don't know what their ultimate plan is, but
They saved $30 million in tax, luxury tax with this move.
yeah, I mean they have Norman Powell now, and I'm sure they're just gonna go out and find another big. I mean nowadays you can just
They're building for
find a big
next
to fill the
year.
same role. Yeah,
The Clippers are not worried about competing for this year, and they probably were like, you know what, Serge, we know you want to go compete. We can get something for you. We'll trade you away.
yeah.
I think it's that simple.
Yeah, that's simple. That's fine with me. But it was a good trade. I'm super impressed by the Bucks, and that's why they remain as my favorites in the East to win.
Yep. Good move for the Bucks. Another team in the East that made a move that I was a bit surprised about was the Washington Wizards. They acquire Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn, for only trading away, and they get a second round pick, and all they did was trade away Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to the Mavericks. So essentially, Mavericks get Bertans and Dinwiddie for a second round pick and Porzingis. To me, this is a horrible trade by Dallas, and I just don't get it. I mean, if the point is to piss Luka off, I mean, well, I guess Luka and Kristaps are not friends, so maybe it's good for that way. But you brought in more money than you gave away somehow, and worse players.
Yeah, Bertans. So the potential of Bertans, I get it. He's a shoot. He's Luka's struggling with shooting. They need a really good shooter. Kristaps was not getting back into the shooting way. Still had a lot interior defense for them, but Bertans has not been a good shooter since he got the contract. I think he was, in my opinion, he was one of the worst contracts, if not the worst in the NBA. And that's all I thought he is. I don't think he can produce for the Mavericks.
Defense. Yeah.
Dinwiddie has been terrible of late. We talked about Dinwiddie going to the Mavericks. I thought it would be a decent fit. However, he struggled with shooting. Luka struggled with shooting. I don't know how much it'll work. He can certainly take the ball out of Luka's hands now and be that secondary, really good playmaker. I mean, Brunson could do that, but obviously Brunson couldn't have been as effective with Luka on the floor, and that was the issues they were having. Brunson's still with the team. I don't know. I hope Dinwiddie just fills that six-man role because that's what he's excelled in. But I think Dinwiddie's a plus. How in this case, in this system, he's a plus, but not for giving up Kristaps. Wizards, I mean, Bradley Beal could be out for the season with his hurt wrist, but they're like, hey, we brought in another star. Here's Kristaps. We've shown they're ready to be good now. They've shown they're still in the play-in right now. I think they're setting themselves up for next year to be a decent playoff contender.
The trade makes sense to me because like you're gonna give Beal that extension. It sounds like he's gonna take it, and worst case scenario, it's an untradeable contract later at that point. But I guess we'll figure out when we get there. But right now, you know, you might as well try to compete around him while you got him, and you're able to take a flyer on Kristaps Porzingis. You're trading away two guys you don't even want on your team, and you're bringing in a guy who has shown oodles of potential before and clearly needed a new situation. So who knows? You're getting a motivated guy, I would hope. So I think a lot of his biggest issues is he just doesn't play defense anymore. So who knows? Maybe things will come back someday for Kristaps Porzingis. I kind of doubt it, but at the very least, I feel like it's a pretty low risk move for them because they were already on the hook for Bertans and Dinwiddie's contracts anyways, and Bertans' contract seemed pretty untradeable. And I mean, you get a second round pick back too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's got to be happy that he's back with the Wizards. He gets to really form himself with Bradley Beal out. He gets to find it where the player he wants to be again. Certainly has all the space. I mean, he's still getting 1.7 blocks a game. Not shooting well from three, but I don't know. We'll see. Curious, who are they going to do at point guard? Is Neto just going to run the point guard now for the Wizards? Aaron Holiday's gone.
You know, if the Lakers manage to get off Westbrook this offseason, maybe the Wizards will welcome him back.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I don't know how the Wizards can make it work financially, but if Russell just got like bought out somehow, he makes too much money for that. But like the Wizards, they had a good time once they had him. There was a rumor out there they were possibly willing to take him back if he did get traded to the Rockets and bought out this year, but obviously that didn't happen. I don't know. Let's get into a trade that didn't happen. The Lakers, they didn't make a single trade today, and that is because they have basically capped out their assets here. They have a really nice pick, 2027 first rounder, but it's too far away to give that up. I mean, the Lakers could be really bad that year. I think they're aware of that.
Yeah, so like their major plan coming into this offseason was Talon THT. They're like, hey, we're gonna give him the contract. Somebody's gonna want him. He's a nice young talent. Nobody wanted him. And that was kind of the end.
Now a negative contract because he's only proven what everybody else thought. They're like, oh yeah, only the Lakers that think he's good.
Yeah, they took a Magic second round pick and they expected him to be a great guy, and he's a fine bench player.
Overrated. So overrated.
Certainly overrated. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But they lost the flyer on Buddy Hield. Didn't work out. Sorry. Russell Westbrook was a huge gamble. It's not going to work out. Nobody thought it was going to work out. They certainly have the talent. I mean, those three are a talented three, just not next to each other. I mean, Brown and Davis, obviously, they've proven their proof of concept. They can win together. I don't know
Westbrook
about the third
does
star.
not play winning basketball. I mean, I think they badly wanted to trade him away, but they just did not want to pull the trigger on that Houston Rockets trade and give up their 2027 first rounder just to bring back John Wall. I mean, honestly, it maybe would have been worth it, but I think they're well aware that with or without that move, they're not going to win a championship this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. They should have. I feel like they could have worked out something to at least get Schroeder or someone. Schroeder just sold for Daniel Tice. That's all. I feel like they could have just done something.
Daniel
like
Tice
that.
doesn't make $44 million.
No, I know, but like they have guys that can make it. They could have put together a package just to be like, hey, just give us Schroeder. Like Daniel Tice. I guess the Celtics like Daniel Tice. He's always been like a good locker room guy, and they liked him when he was there. So they're just like, hey, come back. Just come back, man.
Yeah, I think honestly, a lot of teams just don't want Westbrook.
Well, yeah, that's major. I mean, like he's proven. Yeah, he's proven he's not winning basketball. Like, what are you getting when you have Russell Westbrook aside from like a team that wants to make it out of mediocrity? I'm sure, like if the Kings didn't have Fox, they'd be like, yeah, we'll take Westbrook. Like, please.
Maybe. I mean, Westbrook is just like. He's complaining about getting benched now at late game situations after he's having terrible games. And it's like, dude.
Can't shoot the ball as a point guard.
Well, I don't know what you expect. Like, you're playing terrible. Like,
horrible efficiency inside.
But his gripe was, I think my past proves itself that I should be a late game player in the last few minutes. It's like, that's not how it works, bro. It's what have you done for me lately? And so far lately, you're giving me garbage after garbage. I mean...
Yeah, no, that's it. I'm actually not surprised at all that the Lakers did make a move. I mean,
I'm surprised that they were restrained. They were able to restrain themselves from trading that 27 first rounder. I think I'm not surprised that there wasn't like a lot of options out there. But I thought maybe they'd get desperate. In the past, they have been desperate.
Yeah.
But it looked like Rob Pelinka was at Disneyland today, so it's hard to make trades when you're out doing that.
Yeah, maybe he just didn't have any idea. He's like, we're not going to get any trades. We know. And LeBron makes the trades anyway. What do you think he was at Disneyland? LeBron's like, you go, I got this. But I mean, if we want to talk about another trade that that I was just about right when I almost predicted was Harrell to the Hornets. We talked about it when I was tossing trades out there. I said the Wizards got to pick one of these centers to go between Thomas Bryant, Gafford, and Harrell. And I said that it would be great to see Harrell on the Hornets. He's on the Hornets. And I mean, they like virtually nothing. They just gave away PJ Washington. Actually, PJ Washington, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good asset. Sending Washington, Ish Smith, Vernon Carey, and a second round pick. Yeah, I mean, Washington's clearly the only one. I don't know if Vernon Carey is going to turn out to be anything, but Washington's helpful on the Wizards, I guess. I mean, they just pulled in like 2 power forward centers. So
Didn't the Hornets make another trade today, too? Because like I swear they gave up Kai Jones in a trade.
I don't know. I don't. Not that I know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look it up here, but regardless, like Montrezl Harrell is going to be big for them. You know, he's a motivational bit, power forward who can get you some rebounds, get out on fast breaks, and he's solid in the pick and roll. So yeah. I think that's a solid move for them. You know,
certainly going to help out their bench production. He can go back to being same role he was playing with the Wizards as the 6th man, and he was doing well in that. He's just shifting to the Hornets. I think he's certainly going to benefit from playing with LaMelo Ball on the floor. That's going to be awesome. Another rim running guy next to Miles Bridges. Certainly this makes them a lock for a playing team. I'd like to see them in the playoffs. I can see.
I mean, they're above 500 right now, so I think they got a good shot.
Mm-hmm.
They're at like the 9th seed though at the moment.
Yeah, and PJ Washington, I mean, he was the odd man out. Miles Bridges doing so well, they're like, all right, we can't justify having both you guys on this team, especially with Gordon Hayward there. So now he's gone. I mean, he's a promising young talent. He looked really good. He can he's attempting to space the floor. Maybe he can gain a shot. He's with the Wizards. We'll see. I don't know. Wizards are pretty flush with forwards with Denny. They got Rui. Now they got Kristaps. They had Gafford. They have Bryant. Hard to see that he didn't get flipped. So, but we'll see. I mean, he's still on a rookie end contract. I think he has 2 years left, 1 year, 2 years left on his contract. PJ. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to bring in some talent right now. Beal's out for the rest of the year. You know, might as well see what you got in some of these guys and maybe make some more moves in the offseason after you know, some of these flyers, you made some decisions on them.
Yeah, certainly. But if we let's move. Let's talk about Sabonis. I mean, it wasn't this deadline, right, but we haven't talked about it.
Let's get into that. Leading off here, the Sacramento Kings traded away Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson, and they received Domantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and they received someone else in that too. Oh, Aaron Holiday,
which got flipped anyway.
Obviously, the big pieces in this one is Sabonis going to Sacramento and Tyrese Halliburton going to Indiana. A lot of Kings fans were really upset to see Halliburton go. A lot of NBA fans were surprised to see him go. I wasn't too surprised to see it happen. I knew like the Kings wanted to make a move. I would have thought between the two, maybe they were going to choose to keep Halliburton over Fox just because he's younger, but you know, I can see why they make one decision over the other. And I mean, they get some bonus out of it. He's 25 years old, 2-time All-Star, and he just had a fantastic debut for them against the Timberwolves. He had like 22 points and 14 rebounds.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great. I know when you balance the long term to the short term, you want to look at it. You want to like, who's the better player in the long term? Halliburton could certainly had more potential to be that superstar than Darren Fox does, but Darren Fox is already a star. And the Kings are like, listen, we don't want to be mediocre anymore. We want to start winning. I think this was the first of a lot of moves that they're going to do. I mean, we just talked about they just got Dante DiVincenzo. That's a nice perimeter defender along with Davion Mitchell, who they've cleared up some room for and who's been blossoming. He's been doing great recently, especially offensively, is where he's taking this big jump. He's been there defensively since day one in the league. So, and they're ready to start winning games. This is a huge addition with Sabonis. I think he's probably going to play their center moving forward. I can't wait to see what they do in the offseason. I think there's still moves to come, but they've committed. They're like, we want to be a playoff team. We're going to do it. We have 2 stars. They're going to move forward with that. You and I talked at the beginning of the season. Darren Fox is one of the most underrated players in the season. He took a step back. It's been kind of weird. They've been very crowded at the guard position this season. Balancing between Maxey. They have Terence Davis.
No, not Maxey.
Not Maxey. Halliburton, Terence Davis, Heald, Fox. They have all these guards that they were trying to find time for, and they've cleared it out more. Obviously, the Buddy Hield saga is done. We've been talking about that for years. Still might get flipped out of the Pacers. At first, they're like, "Oh, we were going to keep him," and then at the very last minute, they're like, "No, we can flip him." But
yeah, well, we're done talking about trades the rest of the year, buddy. So I don't want to hear any more Buddy Hield speculation till the offseason from you.
yeah, I mean, all the places
you can't help yourself, but
all the places I said Buddy Hield was going to go to, he didn't go there. Actually, I think I said something about.
I think we were really, especially you, really wrong on Buddy Hield and his value. Because he was literally just a toss-in on this trade.
I don't know. I don't think he was a toss-in. He certainly has the value. I mean, if he was just a throw-in, you're saying that Halliburton and Sabonis was a 1-for-1 trade, which isn't the case. Certainly, potential-wise, maybe eventually they could be seen as equals, but right now they're not. Tyrese Halliburton still doesn't want to shoot the ball as much. He should be taking more. He can commit more. He's just inconsistent. The drive is a little bit inconsistent, I'd like to say. He's certainly a good player, certainly has the talent. You just don't see him putting up those shots a game. And Buddy certainly is a great shooter. I mean, you can't say that he's going to fit anywhere. I just don't know if he's on the Pacers timeline is the thing. But yeah, I'm glad to see the Kings go in this direction. It's nice to see them.
Buddy's gonna be 30 next year, but yeah, I mean the Kings. I think a lot of people are just mad that like you're doubling down on trying to make the play-in this year when you're 16 games under 500. But they're also not far off from the play-in even with that record. They're only like 3 games out.
Have to beat out the Pelicans.
I think it's just more about context. I mean, we know it. That maybe not everyone wants to talk about, but they haven't made the playoffs in like 17 years. And there's a lot of frustration with that. And you could say like, oh, making the play-in and then losing it in 1 game, that's not making the playoffs. But I mean, I think they want to start a winning culture here more. It's like things have been rocky and they want to get some wins under their belt for the second half of the season to make them, feel good going into next year. You might remember the Minnesota Timberwolves, last year went on, they won a lot of games all of a sudden towards the end of the year, and people were questioning whether that was the right move. Mm-hmm. But now here they are, a few games above 500, and chemistry is so good they weren't willing to trade any players away.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just very reminiscent of the Bulls. Remember, they got Vucevic last season. They didn't end up doing that much at all when they ended their season, but then they turned around, went out and had a good free agency, some sign-in trades, and here they are. We were just talking about they're a top 4 or 5 team in the East. Certainly can contend for a final spot, but I don't think they're either of our favorites. But,
yeah, it's certainly possible, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too deep down on that.
We can talk about the Wolves. Let's talk about the Wolves. I know you want to talk about the Wolves.
No, I'm good.
You sure?
I think what was another trade that happened today? The Wolves didn't make any trades. I mean,
no, I know. We just talked about how the Lakers didn't make a trade. We can talk about how the
Lakers. No one cares about the Wolves.
Care about the Wolves.
What was another trade that happened? Well, obviously, CJ McCollum goes to the New Orleans Pelicans. That's a big trade for them.
Yeah, that one gets a little convoluted.
Years on his contract.
Yeah, If we can talk about the Pelicans and his fit, I think it's great. I think next year the Pelicans are gonna be something serious to talk about with Zion. I think he's a perfect fit next to Zion and Ingram. Obviously, defense is a huge. They lost a lot of defense losing Josh Hart. Um, but I think it's the step in the right direction. I think you can figure out a defense, but they have a big three now, and it's a legit big three. I think their pickup, what's his name? I'm losing his name. Their point guard, good shooter, not a good playmaker, not good at anything else. Davonte Graham.
Davonte Graham.
Yeah, I think he's going to be on the trade block. I think he might get moved this offseason for any defensive help. But when Zion returns, I think they made this a good spot. They're like, hey, Zion, listen, I know you have injury inconsistencies. I know you haven't been 100% bought in, but look at this team we built around you. You know, like you can't give it a try. And like, how do you not? If you're Zion, you look at that and be like, all right, you know, they got two legit all-star type players. CJ hasn't been in an all-star game, but he's always been a fringe all-star nod, always been in the conversation. Certainly could have been one in any other league.
Yeah, the New Orleans Pelicans are certainly in better shape than the New York Knicks, for example, which seems to be the team that continues to be linked to Zion, where, is he going to force himself there someday? It's like, why? Just to be in New York?
Just because it's the Knicks.
Right,
his two friends are there now.
Again. Like, newsflash, last year was a fluke.
Yeah. Last year was I don't think Tom Thibodeau is that great of a coach. I've talked about it with the Timberwolves.
It's the same thing that happened with the Wolves. They had a great first year, and next year they fell off.
Yeah, but that's because Jimmy Butler happened with the Timberwolves. It's a little different, but no, I can't wait to see what the Pelicans do more. CJ is going to be a great fit. Certainly spreads the floor out for Zion. Him and Ingram are going to take a lot of the shots. Valanciunas is there too. Like, oh yeah, that's such defense is still like the thing where I'm concerned about. But how do you argue with that talent? Like, that's certainly a talented 1-5. Devontae Graham, CJ, Ingram, Zion, Valanciunas. It's a pretty good five. I don't know how well they all fit next to each other. I think the core three fit next to each other really well with Zion, Ingram, and McCollum. I don't know about the point guard. And Valanciunas
good talent on paper. There's just really not a lot of defense on this team.
No, certainly they can figure it out.
Problem.
Yeah, I think that's something they can figure out. I think they're in the right direction. But the Blazers side of that, they eventually got they flipped Nico Alexander to the Jazz, which I think is a good fit, but they lost Joe Ingles. That's sad. That's sad to see Joe Ingles leave the Jazz. He was pretty sad about it. He tweeted and he said, I can't believe this happened. I'm gonna have a beer and hang out. And I was like, oh, all the Jazz fans are pretty sad about it. It was
a possibility. He said that too. He's not playing another game the rest of this year. And at that age with that injury, he might not be effective at all the rest of his career. Like they were already thinking about trading him before that. Then he gets injured and it's like, well, now at least we don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah, I think it was really funny because when we were talking about the Pelicans, I was talking about Nickeil Alexander-Walker and how inefficient he is, but he certainly has the potential to be a player. And I said the player he was had the potential to be was JCap, Jordan Clarkson, and now he plays next to him. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
certainly helps out the depth.
But I've yet to see him really bring himself that way efficiency-wise. I mean, it'll be good to be under a solid head coach, like
one of the best head coaches, most underrated head coach in the league.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that is a big plus in itself. Like, if I was a player, I'd be excited about getting traded to a team like that. Same thing like with like Tyrese Halliburton getting traded to the Pacers. He's probably like, I get to get coached by Rick Carlisle. Like, yeah, this team's not playing any ton better than the Kings were, but I get to go get coached by one of the best there is.
Yeah. That is really interesting for him. I don't think he raises their ceiling, the Jazz, though. I think he certainly helps out the team, just not enough to raise their ceiling to where they're going to be. I think they're definitely going to need another star. And he's not a star. He certainly helps out their depth.
They just don't have the ability to get another star. I mean, first of all, they're in Utah. Everyone knows it's the most racist state in the country that has a professional sports team. And outside of that, like they're very capped out. They got Gobert on max, they've got Mitchell on max, they got
Conley.
Bogdanovich on a pretty big contract.
Mhm.
Um,
I really
Mike
wish that.
Conley's on a pretty big contract, and
Yeah.
like it's gonna be hard to bring in a star unless you're somehow able to package together those salaries and a ton of picks to do it.
Yeah, I was really hoping that there's some rumblings that Jeremy Grant and Bogdanovich could get traded for each other. I was really hoping that would happen. That would have been a nice fit, a
That
really
would have been
great fit for
solid.
Jazz. That would have raised their ceiling, certainly. But
That would have been a great fit
I
if
just
they were
want to.
both.
I love the Jazz. I love. There's such a. I'm the Jazz as a team, maybe not as a franchise, as you just said, but like
Yeah,
they've
for sure. No,
certainly
I
like
mean they're
fun to watch.
exciting.
Yeah,
And
certainly always the
they're
underdog.
homegrown talent for the
Hmm.
most part, so you got to enjoy that. Donovan Mitchell is a guy who wasn't a top five pick. He came in, kind of surprised some people, especially with how well he played right away. Rudy Gobert is one of the most hated players in our league, for no reason,
He
honestly.
started the
Like
COVID outbreak.
I mean, deserves it for
I
that.
mean, it was inevitable, but it was
Yeah,
really
the way he
bad.
handled that was poor, but like he was hated before that. Like I feel like lots of guys in the NBA just don't give him respect when he deserves it. And is it because he's a foreign, just because he's French? Like
Uh,
people didn't give respect to Giannis really hardly till last year either. And even that, how many current players did you see congratulating Giannis on his championship?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I like Gobert. I like him. I think his defense is certainly like people are like. Well, you can't guard perimeter. I'm like he's gotten pretty good at guarding perimeter defenders now. Certainly not the best, but that's also why he has two of the best perimeter defenders in Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, one of the smartest players in the league today. Period. But I'd like to. I don't know. We'll see what they do. I like Gobert. I think he's really good. His defense is certainly as good as people say it is. His offense is getting better. Is he an overpaid player? Yeah, but I still like him. And it's that small market tax. That's what you got. You're a small market. You got to overpay for everyone. So um, that's not too bad. But I think there's one trade that I do want to. Oh yeah, the Celtics. So the Celtics get rid of Josh Richardson, who's been playing well for them off the bench, and they get Derek White. I think actually that's a pretty nice move. Derek White
And first round pick
and
goes
a
to
first
San
round pick.
Antonio.
Yeah.
But
Derek
yeah, I
White,
mean, Celtics finally get a point guard.
yeah, and he's a really good playmaker as it is. Not the most efficient scorer. However, he's been doing really well playmaking for the Spurs. This helping out DeJounte this season, and I think is he the answer? No, I don't think he's the
Maybe
answer.
he's
I
a
think
good
he
young
certainly
player. I
is the
mean,
move in the right direction. He could help them out a lot. I don't think he's the answer to win
it's
the
a good
championship.
it's a good bridge. I mean, it'll keep them competitive. It'll raise their floor a bit more, and then
Hmm. Yeah, I agree
hopefully
with that.
someone better is available later down the road that you can trade for, and with a package of Derek White and other guys to get.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's exactly it. Like raises their floor. I certainly makes them another like now that I look at them, I'm like they have that playmaker they need. Maybe they're going to be a playoff team again. Maybe they can fill that sixth slot we were talking about, the five teams. Maybe they definitely going to make a play in tournament now. Josh Richardson, go to the Spurs, whatever. I don't know. Like Greg Popovich loves guys who love defense. He's gonna like Josh. However, I don't know. I think Josh could have went to another team that could have used his perimeter defense, like the Wolves. Would have been nice to see. I don't know. Uh, not much on the Spurs. I don't think they're gonna hold on to him that long. I don't think he's the fit next to DeJounte. He's not the best 3-point shooter. They have. I mean, he certainly helps their defense. I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean the Spurs just kind of keep shuffling out mediocre players. Not really sure. At some point, they're going to have to get a star.
Mhm.
They're hoping obviously that one of the guys they draft is going to develop into that. Whether it's Josh Primo, I mean Dejounte Murray just made his first All Star game this year, so obviously that's a step in the right direction.
Yep.
But I don't know. just like guys like Doug McDermott and Zach Collins and Josh Richardson. It's just like they're guys of the same cut. They're not that good. They're good enough to get traded for someone else, but not good enough to stay around your own team for that long.
Good enough to be a good trade piece. That's
Yeah.
a lot like people like Terrence Ross. And,
Terrence Ross wasn't enough for as much as, as often as we talked about him. He wasn't even valuable enough to get a second round pick this year.
yeah, I mean, he's not expiring. I think he might get traded next year or this offseason. He has 2 years left. So,
yeah, Robin Lopez didn't get traded either.
A lot of people talked about that he wasn't getting fucking traded. A lot of people, like Magic fans, are like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna flip Robin Lopez for a first." I'm like, "No, we're not. He's gonna come. He's
I don't know
100% gonna stay on this team by the end of the trade deadline."
I don't know what that business was being like. Oh, we're gonna get a first round pick for him. It was like, no, that's not gonna happen.
Like, no, we just happen to have cap, so we signed him. Like that's why. And he's like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna offer me like $7 million to play here, or whatever."
He's like, I get to play professional basketball still. And I'm gonna be in Florida. This is a win.
Yeah. At first, I was surprised that Mo Bamba didn't get moved, but then I was like, I'm not surprised.
How's he still playing? He's having a good year.
He's having a decent year. I mean, he's not living up to the potential. He's certainly still looking like a project, but he's still getting. I think he's like third in blocks or for the NBA, but rebounds. He's very inconsistent. One night he'll score 20, the next night he'll score 3. He's hard to keep on the floor with foul trouble. I think they certainly Magic found their center in Wendell Carter Jr. They're just playing Mo Bamba to keep him in practice. They might as well give him the minutes now. And if he plays well if they both play well enough next to each other, might as well have him on the floor. I don't think Mo Bamba is the answer for the Magic. Could he be answers for someone else? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked the Timberwolves to trade for Mo possibly.
That would have been
just
good.
To get some size in.
Yeah, that would have been good. I mean, the Magic have so much young talent right now. I don't care what they do. They have a lot. They've done well with their assets. Now we just got to see them grow. Who grows into what? Everyone's having injury issues.
This is the point where you figure out now you got guys competing. You're going to figure out, who you're actually building your team around.
Yeah, and now we have Bull. We have him in for at least. He's not going to play this season. He'll play next season. He's essentially Mo Bamba. I mean, we have another Mo Bamba, and I don't know what we're going to do with him. Another shooting, shot blocker, tall guy that we're going to have to figure out what to do with. Certainly, I mean, he's going to find minutes. He should find minutes. I'd like to see all that potential go towards something. It's funny, like, we got him. I wanted him in the draft a while ago, and they didn't pick him up, and now we just got him for free. So PJ Dozier was waived already. That was whatever. We just got cash back. I don't even know what we gave up for him, but that I like to see. Next year is going to be exciting. Hopefully everyone. Jonathan Isaac, Markel Fultz. Hopefully everyone is healed by next season. It's going to be nice to see some format.
Those guys are supposed to be playing at some point this season. If you don't see them at all this season, that's a problem, isn't it?
I mean, they got paid. The Magic are going to try to play them no matter what. Which is fine, which is good. Who knows? Maybe they just come back and they're really good anyway. Fultz will probably play by the end of this season. I'm sure he will. I don't think Isaac will see some minutes this season. At this point, why?
Cut him. Cut his ass.
I don't know about cutting him. He's certainly. I mean, when he played, I think riding out his contract for another year is certainly enough.
Coming out with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, well,
he's got a book coming out with Ben Shapiro. That's all you need to know to cut his ass.
I mean, people's beliefs are their beliefs. I don't really care about that. We'll see.
Okay, well, you should care about. He hasn't played a single game in 16 months.
I that is what I do care about. That's why I said give him one more. If he doesn't play by opening day next season, we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to be like, all right, guys, you fucked up. But like, certainly that potential is there. Like when he was on the floor, he looked like the best defensive player in the fucking league, and that's not even like an exaggeration. That guy was an exaggeration. Insane. It was not when he was on the floor.
Rudy Gobert is the best defensive player in the league, and Giannis is also a better defender than Jonathan Isaac. I understand Jonathan Isaac looked fantastic.
I mean, how many games did you watch of Jonathan Isaac though?
How many games did Jonathan Isaac play?
Like 6. No, he played like 15. Games 2 seasons ago, like 15, 22 or some 15 games in a row at least. But he certainly got it. I think the Magic have a lot of young talent, and I'm very excited for all the talent they've gathered, and I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Probably fuck it all up again, I'm sure.
I feel like we're missing. There's another trade to talk about. Hold on.
Yeah, and his freedom got traded and
Whatever. That's
waived.
bullshit. I could care less. The Raptors swapped Thaddeus Young, and then the
briefly
Spurs are gonna waive Goran. So Goran's gonna go to a contender. You got to think of where he's going to. Is he going to Dallas?
I mean, that's where they've been talking about literally for months.
Yeah, but what are they going to do
with his fellow Slovenian, Luka Doncic?
Yeah, but what are they going to do with him? He's not going to see that many minutes. They still have Brunson, Luka, and now they have Spencer Dinwiddie. They're pretty crowded with point guards. I'd like to see him go to someplace like the Bucks. I think the Bucks could use him. I think the Lakers certainly could are praying for him to show up and be like and come. I think he could potentially really help out the Lakers to at least win a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, Lakers would make a lot of sense. I'm sure the Lakers are going to be very active in the buyout market.
I'm surprised Thad Young is the Raptors didn't waive him. Now they're like, we already talked about how crowded their front court
wanted him. What do you mean? They traded for him.
I know, but what are they going to do with him? They already have so many front court guys.
Pick to get him. They need another big man.
What? They have so many big men. They have Boucher, they have Achua, they have Barnes, they have Siakam, they have OG.
Achua is not that good.
Who?
Achua is not that good.
No, but he's certainly. I mean, he's a decent bench asset, and that's what he's been playing as.
So is Thaddeus Young. He's better.
I think he's better certainly on veteran talent alone. On the potential, I think Achua could definitely be better than him. I think
getting rid of Achua, they're trying to win more games this year. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs. If Siakam didn't come back this year, I would say it would be a lock for Scotty Barnes to win Rookie of the Year. But hey, Siakam comes back. They bring in Thaddeus Young. You got veterans. You make a playoff run. You still got your young guys that you're grooming for the future. It's going to be fine.
I mean, yeah, I just don't know how much minutes he'll get. How many minutes? Miles Turner stayed in the
He keeps ending up on weird teams, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I think that's enough for the trades. I think we beat
that was the trade deadline. I mean, it was a big one. Obviously, the biggest name to get traded was James Harden, but we saw fellow All-Star Domantas Sabonis and Ben Simmons traded as well. CJ McCollum gets traded. Lots going on. I mean, what a fun day. To me, this is better than Christmas.
Yeah.
So now we are going to move on to our last segment of today. We're talking about All-Star snubs. In my opinion, the biggest snub this year by far is Jarrett Allen. I thought, really deserved to be there. The Cavaliers, they have the All-Star game in their stadium this year. They are one of the top teams in the East. Jarrett Allen has improved his scoring this year, and he's just an absolute lethal alley-oop threat with Darius Garland, who also is an all-star game. So, I think it only makes sense to have them both there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Both of them are deserving of an all-star team. I didn't have DeJounte on one of my all-star teams, but I said before he certainly could have made it. I had Lillard instead of him, and he's basically the only one that didn't make one.
It's going to be hard for Lillard to make it as a replacement now.
Well, I mean, no, Lillard's injured and he's probably out for the year. That's why when I made the list, I didn't know he was going to be out for the year. Same thing in regards to Bradley Beal. He's probably out for the year. Didn't make an all-star team. I get it.
Right.
Why didn't was Paul George named at least an all-star?
I don't think so.
Just missed too much time. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, he's been out for a bit now.
Yeah, that's a lot of the cases this year. It's just guys that would normally make it didn't make it because of injuries.
Yeah. Well, they're getting older. I mean, this is how it goes. You can't rely on their bodies to stay up throughout the whole season. So, young guys, they get their opportunity. John Morant's in the game this year. DeJounte Murray gets his first nod. To be honest, I don't think there's a lot of snubs. Jarrett Allen is a big one. Chris Middleton makes the game, which a lot of people are they don't think he should have made it because he missed a lot of games already this year.
Not enough. He's still gonna play, and he's gonna be
Still
there for that.
fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he deserves it, but I get why people are upset about that one.
Yeah.
But like the only guy I'd maybe put over him is Jared Allen. But did Siakam not make the game either? Because I would say he would also be a guy who got snubbed.
Yeah, Siakam was snubbed, but at the same time, you got to look at the Raptors record, and Van Vliet made it over Siakam. Siakam missed time. They picked one. They knew the Raptors were going to get an All-Star. I'm fine with it. I'm like, okay, yeah, he missed enough
there's
time.
limited spots. You want to give recognition, across to different teams if you can, for sure.
Yeah, I think it was a little weird. Okay, so where am I getting at? Yeah, who's a better player? I think Jaylen Brown is certainly a better player than Allen. Same thing. The record didn't justify having 2 All-Stars in the game. Jaylen Brown is a huge snub because I think he's better than a lot of players that are. I think he's better than Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton made the game. Jaylen Brown didn't, but that's the fault of the game. Like, I think Anthony Edwards is better than DeJounte Murray already, but Anthony Edwards didn't make it. And Andrew Wiggins, and they didn't make it. I think if Wiggins wasn't named starter, I think people like Davis probably would have made it in. Ayton would have made it in, maybe, or Edwards. One of those 3 would have made it in if Wiggins. I don't think if Wiggins wasn't voted in as a starter, he wouldn't have been
he would not
all-star.
have been an all-star. Yeah,
shouldn't have been.
The only reason he's in is because of Korean pop stars and Golden State just fuckboy fanboys. So
yeah, and Sabonis didn't make an all-star team. The Pacers have been in limbo. It's whatever. He'll make one next year as a King. I think that's fair to say. I mean, him or Fox will make an all-star team. I'd like to see Fox make an all-star team. He's a really nice player. He's in a lull. Like, I get people are like, oh, he's not the better point guard. He is the better point guard right now than Halliburton. He's producing more, maybe not as good of a playmaker. They didn't play well next to each other.
Clearly, like, having Halliburton on the team pushed Fox down. And now with him off the team, you're probably going to see a better Fox. So that's
and all that uncertainty. It's hard to play when everyone's like, trade him, and you're the player and it's your own fan base saying trade him. Like, it's hard. It's hard to get into that killer mindset that he has been in for years. Been 26 points per game last season. Like, come on, he clearly is good. Like, I don't know. Some fan bases are a little sketchy about that.
Well, people get impatient. I mean, if you were a Kings fan, you would probably feel the same way.
Yeah, it's a tense situation.
You wouldn't have seen them make the playoffs your entire life of watching basketball consciously.
If the Timberwolves were bad this season, then I'm sure you would be in the same position.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I'm a Timberwolves fan.
Cat,
being a Timberwolves fan is very similar to being a Kings fan.
Yeah, we feel you, man. We feel you guys, but don't worry, you're on the up. Just a few more trades away, and you'll be in the playoffs. Well,
hopefully, I think they probably have a draft pick this year. Hopefully, they draft a good guy there, and Davion Mitchell, if he can develop a little bit, I think that would be big for them.
Yeah, I mean, he's 16 points per game in the last 15 days. He's killing it. He's great, and I was really hoping the Magic would get him, and I mean, they got Franz Wagner, who's better, but Kings got a steal there. I really hope they run a lineup like, I don't know, Fox. I'd like to see Mitchell in that starting lineup plus Sabonis. Barnes didn't get dealt, so he's staying. Rashad Holmes is there. I'd like to see them get a better center. I don't know who. Got to give him this time to sizzle. Maybe we'll talk about off-season trades way too soon, like in the coming weeks. But we're gonna give trades a break. We've dealt with a lot today. It's been a big day for us.
No more trades. We're done.
Not for Timberwolves fans.
For the rest of the season.
For the rest of this, for the rest of the season.
There's no trades. You can't make a trade during the season, can you?
Is Miles Turner getting traded this offseason?
We're not talking about that.
I'm just asking you, yes or no?
I'm not talking about it. We're done talking.
I want to hear an answer, Alec. Yes or no? Is Miles Turner going to be a Pacer?
Yes.
Probably. Probably.
They just traded away Sabonis, so clearly they chose between the two. and they could have got high value for Turner this year if they wanted to trade him. So I think clearly he's happy that he doesn't have to share the burden of postman with Sabonis anymore. I think this will open up his game a lot more.
Yeah, at least make him a better trade candidate so the Wolves cannot trade for him.
Yeah, right. The Wolves aren't willing to trade anything.
He'll probably finally go to the Celtics, and then we'll all be like sad.
Now. I think it's the interim GM for the Wolves. He's just like he's afraid. I mean, he obviously didn't want to switch things up too badly, but like, I didn't see anything bad with trading away Josh Okogie and Jake Layman in a second-round pick to get something of value. Like, I mean, you saw what Montrezl Harrell got traded for today. He got traded for Ish Smith and someone else.
PJ Washington was the big one there. It's the real asset that they got back for him.
I don't even think he was in that trade. I think you got that one wrong, but we can talk about that one later. I didn't see that.
Yeah, PJ Washington was in the trade here. Oh no, he was All-Stars now. I mean, we already talked about it, but Wizards trading.
It says Hornets receive Harrell, Washington receives Ish Smith and Vernon Carey.
Oh yeah, I was reading Washington as PJ Washington. My bad. They got nothing then. You didn't stop me when we were talking about it. You just let me keep going.
Well, because honestly, at the time, I thought, oh, he must know something I don't.
Oh, I didn't.
And I just went with it.
I just misread it.
Saw something. That's funny. Yeah. No.
Yeah, he really went for nothing then.
we can re-talk about that because
I don't care. We'll let it go. I'll put a disclaimer in the video.
Montrezl Harrell for Ish Smith and Vernon Carey. I mean, is absolutely nothing. Like any team could have done better than that. I swear. Like I feel like Montrezl Harrell is a decent player. He fills a role.
Yeah, he does certainly fills a role that the Wolves could have used. But then again, he's kind of just redundant with Naz Reid. He's a better Naz Reid.
I mean, he's a better Naz Reid, essentially. Yeah. But, if like Naz or Cat gets injured, they're screwed. I mean, they need a big man. They need another big man right now. Even a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein would have been a good move. Just some post player, but that can get some rebounds. Even like a Paul Millsap or
Millsap would have been good.
There were some good players out there that even just some decent players, some mediocre ones that got traded today that they could have gotten in on.
Yeah.
But they decided not to.
Oh well. They got
That's the way it is. But yeah, that trade deadline was a good day. We'll see y'all again next year when they have another one. It's the best time of the year. But in the meantime, we have a playoff race ahead of ourselves. So we're going to be excited to see how that ends up. And, we know you will be too. So this was Strictly Ball Business. I don't know if we call it episode 28, but we talked about the trade deadline today, biggest of them all. So we love you guys. Make sure you subscribe Strictly Ball Business and give us some views. We just had a recent video on Anthony Edwards compared to Michael Jordan. You'll be sure to want to check that one out.
Yeah. Hey guys, like and subscribe to our videos. I like talking balls. You guys like hearing about balls. Come on, just do it. Press the button.